Hi, Dana here. One of the things that I've heard from many of you as I've been calling around is this idea that you have learned that you have more than enough. As stores are closed and as some of you have been able to resist shopping therapy online, as you haven't had as much time to linger in grocery stores or to browse and come home with things, you've learned that your pantry is fuller than you thought and you could survive longer for some of you. Not always the case for others. Especially in this time. Some of you have learned that you have more than enough clothes and you didn't necessarily need to buy as many. If you couldn't find a product, there was a workaround, like maybe your neighbor had something, or you figured out how to sew without elastics, I've heard a lot of you say, to make face masks. And there is this tension in Christian living that we have always said, and that we're now being forced to consider, is what is enough? Our society has always asked us to have more, and there's something beautiful about delighting and enjoying the world, and to have more is not always wrong. There is also the other side of it, which is to say that we are encouraged to be generous, to be content with what we have. And in many ways in this season, and maybe as we continue to move forward in this time, we are being forced to ask that question. When do we have enough? What is enough? What does it mean to be content with what we have? And if we have more than enough, what does it mean to be generous with that? Generosity is a marker of the early church, where at the bottom of Acts 2 it says that they sold their possessions and their property to give to those who had a need. And so it's that idea of resisting, and Jesus talks a lot about this, about giving up greed and resisting greed, learning to be content so that we can be generous as well. There's this prayer that I have read and pondered many times from Prayer 40 Days of Practice by Scott Erickson and Justin McRoberts, and it says this, and I think it's worth pondering. May I learn what it means to have enough and abandon the relentless pursuit of more. May I learn what it means to have enough and abandon the relentless pursuit of more. Not only is there that prayer, but I've also been hearing time and time again over the past 6 weeks this generosity creed by Missio Days in Chicago. And it says this: godliness with contentment is great gain. We bring nothing into the world and we take nothing out of it. We who call Jesus Lord devote ourselves to resisting greed, which plunges the human heart into ruin and pierces it with many griefs. We are determined to practice generosity with free hearts, fixing our hope on God and not the uncertainty of wealth. We desire to be rich in good deeds and willing to share all that we have, laying up for ourselves treasure which will not decay but will shine in the age to come. Amen. This is a hard thing to live, and it takes practice and commitment to learn what it means to have enough, to learn what it means to be content, to learn to ask for help and to receive help, but also to be generous with what we have. So as you continue on in your life and in your time together in this world, may we learn what it means to be generous and what it learns to be content with enough.